and welcome to another edition of the Coach and Benway podcast. I'm Coach Redpill, joined as always by Dr. Benway, hence the name. And we are going to be doing a actually two-parter kind of situation because we're recording this Wednesday night, Eastern. And we're going to be talking about the election results and the things that have been going on the last just 2 days, the election and the fallout from the election. And on tomorrow's episode of the Weekly Bile, we're going to go into more detail on the other news items. It's just so much news going on that we prefer to do like a two-parter of the Weekly Bile. Today, we're just talking about the election results and the immediate after effects of that and what we think is going to happen into the future. And on tomorrow's episode of the Weekly Bile, we'll go into other news stuff and what have you. So anyway, Dr. Benway, how's it going?
Well, it's been one of those 24
days.
hours, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, I was telling you last night as the results came in that in my mind, this is you can take many points of view on this election, but I'd say for the sake of the country overall and what we kind of get our panties in a twist over, this is the worst possible outcome, like I said, because what have we reproduced? Stasis.
Yeah.
One side got a little bit of victory and defeat. The other side got a bit of victory and defeat. Everything kind of amps up the tensions, and people are just going to continue to extend the degree to which they've lost their shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
A decisive response one way or the other would have been much preferable. This is just, there's enough fuel in the fire and enough piss and vinegar in the bladder to just keep people pissed off and aggressive, as you'll see throughout the discussions today.
Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, so as of this time, we're recording, as I said, Wednesday evening Eastern. And at this time, the House election results are 223 Democrats and for sure 197 Republicans. This is according to the New York Times, which is the most lefty of the outlets, excuse me. And you need 218 total to control the House. There are, of course, 435 seats up for election. And so as of this time, we're still waiting on 15 seats to be declared one way or the other. Insofar as the Senate is concerned, the Democrats got 46 seats with a net loss of 2, but that's TBD, and I'll explain in a moment. And the Republicans got 51. Of course, there are 100 seats in the Senate. We are waiting on the results of 3 seats. But these are like the absolute sure results. It's looking like the Republicans are going to get those 3 seats. So it'll be a 54-46 Senate. And the House, you can't tell at this time, but the point is, the Democrats are going to have control, but not a decisive control. They're going to have a marginal control. At this time, they have barely 5 seats above the majority. And it's very easy in the House of Representatives to corral or chip off 5 Democrats and have them vote Republican. So the House is going to be pretty much of a toss-up. But
not to mention that there's a good chance for special elections over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like in the UK, if you have a narrow margin, you can get that eroded away very easily with stupid shit that goes on per usual.
Yeah. The Senate is firmly in the grips of the Republicans. What's also important is that in both the House and Senate, it was the never-Trumpers who lost. The Trump supporters, the diehard Trumpers, they won. And so clearly Mitch McConnell now has a firm majority in the Senate. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's going to mean confirmation of judges, a lot of regulatory judges that have been held up in the confirmation process. They're going to just start, because before with a 51-49 majority, it was a lot iffier. Now with a 54-46 majority, it's no sweat at all to just start confirming people and just putting the people in the judiciary, especially in the regulatory courts that will vote in favor of what Trump wants. And Mitch McConnell is clearly in Trump's back pocket. So I don't mean that in a despective way, but so I think that the Senate, it's Trump. The House, though, is going to be the problem.
Yeah, let's dig a little deeper in some of those core themes that kind of, what do these results tell you? You already brought up one, which was that those who were iffy on Trump or tried to distance themselves on Trump lost. Those who not only were friendly to Trump, but those who had Trump campaign on their behalf, by and large, won. So yes, they're beholden to him. They generally support him anyway. There's a bit of consolidation that has occurred as a result of this election, which isn't this. That's the silver lining in the losses. You got rid of the riffraff, to a certain extent. Now that's not 100% perfect because, as I've told you before, one of the net new guys in the Senate is Mr. Mitt Romney, and he's already acting like a wiener as per usual. We'll get into that a little bit later on the Sessions discussion, but there will still be a bunch of flaky guys in the Senate, particularly Sasso, or I forget how you pronounce it, Sassy or whatever, and our good friend Mr. Mormon King will be there.
Mitt Romney,
Mitt Romney, Mr. Mormon King. It will continue to be the issue we have, but like I said, they have a little bit of removing of the chaff, but also having control of the House is always a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
because invariably the system is designed to stall, to not get a lot done. The Republic is such that you actually need a lot of combined effort above and beyond a simple majority to get shit done. That okay, the Democrats own the House. Let's see you own the next 2 years, motherfucker. Yeah. Let's see what you can put it through. And to your point, their majority is pretty slim right now. So we'll see what they can do. Not to mention with the president and a Senate who's probably not going to give a shit about what they want to do. But they'll still cause trouble. And it'll be interesting to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, okay, let's assume just for shits and giggles that the Democrats, have like 230 votes finally, 12 above the absolute minimum for a majority, right? They're really not going to be able to impeach Trump because it'll be easy enough to peel off a dozen Democrats and who will be like, no, this is a stupid idea, or no, I'm not going to vote for impeachment because Trump is going to throw me a couple of bones or something like that for my district. It'll be easy to peel off a dozen or more members of the House of the Democratic majority. So the idea of them impeaching Trump is farcical because number one, and quite crucially, there is no grounds for impeaching him. There is no evidence that he's done any wrongdoing, certainly not while he's been in office. And so this notion that, we'll just impeach him, Bill Clinton actually did break the law. He committed perjury. That's what he did. He said, under oath and on national TV, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. He said it,
Why did he sound like Jerry Seinfeld? Well, I didn't have sex with her. What do you mean by is? Could be something else. Well, I don't know.
I've never claimed to be, a good mimic. But here's the serious point of this issue is that, see, the Democrats, especially the crazier liberal ones, they think that impeachment is just like a popularity contest or some shit like that. It is an actual judicial maneuver that you impose because the person that you are impeaching has broken the law. And his position is such that you can't get just an attorney general or some local sheriff or something to arrest him and throw him in jail, right? That's the whole point of impeachment. Now, it was done.
Not to mention that in all impeachment really means is that you refer to the Senate.
Yeah,
a case.
It's an indictment.
An indictment of the president. The Senate adjudicates, and the Supreme Court acts as judge collectively.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, the Chief Justice acts as judge. It's not, but it doesn't matter because the Senate, with a 54-46 majority, what the hell are they going to convict Trump? They'd have to have video of him standing over the corpse of Michael Avenatti in the Oval Office before they'd convict Trump of anything because there's no political reason to convict him. And more to the point, he hasn't committed any crime. Okay, these fucking Dems, they think that impeachment is just for shits and giggles. Oh, we have a majority, so let's impeach. No, for crying out loud. But,
well, it'll be interesting how it plays because the thing with the House is that there's one thing about like actually achieving the impeachment. I think that's suspect. What is achievable is grandstanding because the reality is you're going to have Nancy Pelosi as the speaker. You're going to have Adam Schiff, no doubt, as the head of whatever, judiciary or intelligence committee, equivalency that's in the House. Schiff's going to, convene committees to talk bullshit to the camera.
Yeah.
That's why you have committees.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I think is going to be the thorn over the next 2 years. And also the House, as for those of you who paid attention to civics, controls the purse strings. Like all budgetary initiatives have to originate in the House. So they're going to be able to dictate things like wall funding, other kinds of infrastructure development. They've already announced we're going to come up with some big infrastructure plan, but it's going to be annoying.
Yeah, it's going to be annoying. Now the committee has the power to subpoena. Now, that's not something to be taken lightly, okay? So what's going to happen is that these fucking committees that are going to sprout like fucking mushrooms in the House, they are going to annoy and harass the White House to no end. Anybody working in the White House is going to get subpoenaed, every week. It's just going to be part of the game. These Democrats who got elected, they are going to try to show to their base that they are resisting Trump, which is stupid, but also much more to the point. It is going to drive Trump to do exactly what they fear, which is use executive authority to just carry out measures that he wants to, just like Obama did. That's the thing that the Democrats and Obama, the Democrats never reined in Obama when he just used executive authority to carry out his policies. They thought that was hunky-dory. But when the shoe's on the other foot, all of a sudden it's fascism. Oh, bullshit. And Trump is going to be able to say, well, I'm doing exactly what Obama did. What's the problem, right? Oh, he's a fascist too? Yeah, and it's not going to help Obama that he's made himself a target by raising his head and starting saying all kinds of stupid shit. It's not going to help the cause of the Democrats because Trump is going to point to Obama. And there's something else that I don't think many people really notice. But Trump really hates Obama, and Trump really wants to get his revenge on Obama. I mean, humiliate him the way he humiliated Mitt Romney back in the day. Remember that wonderful photograph of the two of them having dinner, and Trump with that big, smug, shit-eating grin, and Mitt Romney looking like a little boy who'd been raped by his Catholic priest. Yeah, that was goddamn funny, wasn't it? Yeah, he wants that moment with Obama. And he'll probably get it.
Well, one other thing to note, all four of the contests that Obama decided to shill for the Democratic candidate for, all four of those were losses for the Democrats. So just keep that in mind. I know, I think it was don't quote me on these. I know it was the Florida races, I think potentially the Georgia governorship and maybe veto. I can't remember exactly, but I think those were the four. All lost so far, or soon to be lost. So there's that. With regard to the, Trump situation, I think for good or ill, I think this is the reality. Trump thrives in very conflict-ridden situations.
Yeah.
Having an opposing house like this is kind of what gets him going. I'd prefer him to be successful regardless of whether or not there's open conflict or not. He's going to use that to his advantage. And I think to your point of saying, okay, it's time for me to use executive order now. I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's appropriate. The dismissal of Sessions, which happened today.
Yeah.
Directly related to this.
Yeah.
To your point about being able to subpoena and having the Mueller probe not fully resolved. It's like, okay, Sessions, regardless of anything else you're doing, you punted on the Mueller probe. You're out for that because shit's getting heavy now. Yeah. And whatever my replacement is, he has not recused himself, and he's going to basically control everything coming out of that at this point.
Yeah,
he's nipping it in the bud, and I don't blame him. I think he should have done this sooner.
Yeah,
but such is the situation.
Now's a good time to carry this move out of getting rid of Sessions, and this was in the pipe for a while, and also now he's got a friendly Senate, so he'll be able to pass whomever the fuck he wants. Nobody's going to tell him shit about it. And again, the fact that the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, is so friendly to Trump, and Trump made it a point to congratulate Mitch McConnell when Kavanaugh's situation got resolved favorably, right? And he made it a point. I mean, he's cultivated McConnell, and it's smart that he has, because Cocaine Mitch now is firmly a Trump supporter, a Trumpist. And because he recognizes the political wins and he's going to be following them. I mean, he's a career politician. He's a smart man, and he's an operator, and he's got good relations with most everybody in the Senate. He's going to get things done. He's going to get the things done that Trump wants, and he'll be able to, more importantly, block the things that Trump doesn't want to happen. And yeah, it's a wonderful partnership between Cocaine Mitch and Dirt Orange Hair. I think it's going to be fine.
Not to mention, there's still a lot of good things open to Sessions. I think ideally, I would like to see him run Homeland Security. I don't know that Sessions is really on good terms with the president right now. Regardless of that, I think the best thing available to him now is in 2020 get his old Senate seat back when whom I forgot the name of the guy who Doug Jones in Alabama, the Democrat who won it against whomever the fuck lost there. I think Sessions can easily get his Senate seat back, and that gives us another seat.
Well, I don't know. He's 71 years old. Okay, in 2 more years he'll be 73. He might be at an age that he's going to say fuck it. I mean, I don't think anybody would blame him. I think he might be just a little bit too long in the tooth, and just like, fuck it. Life is too short, and I want to spend it with my grandkids. Okay, and like I said, nobody would be. He's had a stellar career. Okay, if the guy decides, I'm just like exiting stage left and leaving at that, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. I personally don't see a future for Jeff Sessions. Okay, but I do see that the Democrats in the House are just going to make a nuisance of themselves, which will play into Trump's hands because, like you said, the House has the power of the purse string. If it comes to a showdown over the budget at some point and the Democrats are able to hold on to their very slim majority and a very fragile majority, because there are a lot of people, a lot of congressmen who are in seats that are Trump country. And if those guys are going to be very leery of antagonizing their own base. So if somehow the Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic leadership is able to hold on to this very fragile majority to really have a showdown over the budget with Trump, they're going to get fucked because Trump will say, okay, government shutdown, fuck it, And who's going to get shit all over their face? It's not going to be Trump because Trump is a wild man. Everybody knows that. So it'll be the Democrats. The Democrats are going to be perceived as the people who should have been sensible in how they managed the relationship with this crazy-ass president, and they didn't. They're going to get the blame,
Well, and also remember, this is not unprecedented to have the conflicting House trying to force a shutdown with the president and losing popularity relative to the president. This happened post 95.
Right.
Remember, the great 94 when the Republicans finally, after 40 years, took back control of the House.
Right.
Newt Gingrich tried to force a government shutdown against Bill Clinton.
And he lost.
He lost. Yeah, I mean they kept their control, but basically the support of the general population went down. Clinton's popularity went up. It's the reality of the situation. Yeah. I can easily see that happening in Trump's favor.
And the fact of the matter is, it guaranteed Clinton's reelection in '96. Yeah, it really pissed off people at the time. I remember it very clearly. I remember very clearly in '95 how down in the dumps Clinton was. I mean, everything had blown up in his face. Nothing was getting done. And but the government shutdown was one of the best things that ever happened to him. It really did save his presidency. So yeah, I do not see how these people would be dumb enough. Well, I was about to say, I don't see how these people would be dumb enough to do this, but then again, you could never underestimate the stupidity of people in political power when they dream that they see an opening. It's not really an opening, it's a trap, because I see this as a trap. And I think that the Democrats are going to go into that trap. They're going to try to resist. And that's the thing, you are right that this mixed result gives renewed energy and vigor to both sides. And there's still the sense that we are in contested country, that the things are still up for grabs, that, 2016 election was never really decided. And so the people on the Trump side are going to be, vigilant, relentless, and the crazy people on the left are going to be crazy as always, like what the fuck they did with Tucker Carlson, for crying out loud. You want to dive into that, explain that to our dear listeners?
Yes, so for those of you who may be watching, on Friday is when this is going out, right?
Yeah.
Wednesday night, the same group, I forget their exact name, but
Who gives a shit? Yeah.
they were essentially an Antifa-like organization. Same group that accosted Ted Cruz when he was out in a restaurant with his family. They found where Tucker Carlson lives out in the Washington D.C. area. Went to his house and just started hanging around his house, saying, "We know where you sleep." Tucker Carlson and doing their protest shit. And,
Yeah, no. This was the thing. By the way, the name was Smash Racism DC, and they were chanting, "Tucker Carlson, we will fight. We know where you sleep at night." Now, Tucker Carlson, whatever the flaws you might think of the guy, he is a family man with, I think, 4 children, 4 small children. Okay, and for a group of hooligans to be outside of his house, saying this shit, basically saying, "We will fight. Presumably, we will fight you, and we know where you sleep at night. We know where you sleep at night, so we will come and attack you." What the fuck? I mean, these people should be arrested because this isn't a protest. Maybe technically it is a protest, but this is intimidation. This is, silencing by use of the threat of violence. This is, mafia style, no, Nazi style shit. This is what the Nazis did. This is brown shirt shit that these people are doing. And they claim to be fighting fascism, for crying out loud. What the fuck? I'm sorry. I find it outrageous because Tucker Carlson, I like him very much. I think that he's a great guy, very sensible, very on point. He just beats the ever-living shit out of any, in a metaphorical sense, of course. He beats the shit out of any leftist who comes across his path. Like Cenk Uygur, he just wiped the floor with that guy, right? With, the angry buffalo, right? It was damn funny. But see, he is just a guy who talks, and he articulates things that a lot of people believe or think or agree with. He is not doing anything wrong. He's never broken any law. He's never done anything that, apart from not breaking the law, I don't think that he's ever done anything that one could, on any kind of moral ground, say that it's a bad thing. He is a decent, hardworking family man. What the fuck? Come on. This is wrong. And I'm wondering what the left's reaction is going to be. I mean, we'll find out by Friday, when we do by Saturday rather, when we do the weekly bile, the regular weekly bile. But as we're recording this Wednesday night, do you know of any reaction of the left? I mean, it just happened, so it's.
All I know is that the Antifa types are happy about it. To me, the left's reaction is less interesting to me than the media's reaction. Think about what the media has been playing. It's like, oh, the freedom of the press is very important. We shouldn't be subject to attacks, this, that, and the other. Tucker Carlson is a leading media figure. This is an attack on him and his family. By all the definitions being spouted by the likes of your CNNs or your MSNBC, whenever, oh, Trump said some mean things about the press, and so now we're under attack. This is not right. Well, when that actually happens to someone who isn't of their political persuasion, what are they going to do? Are they going to be silent? Are they going to respond to it? Are they going to be consistent? My guess is they'll say nothing. Or they'll say, this just shows to show you the divisive world that Trump has created.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. To me, that's the most important one.
Yeah.
Because I think it will just be another example of them reiterating their hypocrisy. And again, why I said before, and I say again, they are the enemy of the people. You trust them at your peril. Act accordingly.
Yeah. Here's the thing, I'm scanning through Twitter, and a lot of people with big followings are saying, why are these Smash Racism people still on your platform, Jack being Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. And yeah, they're still on. And nobody says anything. Everybody's like, oh, that's perfectly fine. And so it is just showing more and more the hypocrisy of the left. And for all their bullshit talk that Trump is a Nazi, well, they're behaving like Nazi thugs, like fucking brown shirts. That's how they are behaving. We are seeing this because I'm sorry, it's really kind of frightening because one of the things that they were saying here is, where did the line go? We know where you sleep at night. You are not safe. They are blatantly threatening them with physical violence. A family man with small children who is a fucking journalist He's not even a journalist. He's a fucking commentary guy, a commentary in an interview, okay? He's harmless, for crying out loud. And where's the left? And I think that dichotomy between their words and deeds and their blatant hypocrisy is just going to start kicking them in the nuts collectively, because normies don't dig that, because normies are just like Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is like this, you can tell just by looking at him that the guy's upper class, he's got good education, he's got that aristocratic vibe to him, okay? But he's a nice guy. You don't resent him or anything like that. He's just a nice guy who tries to do his job, and he does it very well. I think that this is going to blow up in their fucking face. I actually think that this is a bigger deal, because the press is going apeshit over the White House finally ejecting what's his name, Acosta. What's the name of the
Jim Acosta?
Jim Acosta. What do you think of that whole thing?
Well, before I get to Jim, I'll just say this on Tucker. Fox News has yet to, as far as I know, issue any statement. This is as of Wednesday night.
Yeah, this just happened.
In defense of Tucker saying, we're going to stand by our journalist who's under attack here. Thank you very much. The reason I want them to do that is I know the president pays attention to Fox News. It's very clear that. And Tucker himself. Tucker, from what I gather, didn't say anything about it other than to suddenly say he's just going to have a 2-day vacation. I wonder why.
Yeah.
If Fox had better say something about this on the level of CNN, like they did with Jim Acosta, which I'll get to in a second. If the reason they need to do this is because the president needs to see it, and I want the president to turn around and demand that Jack on Twitter or whomever else is in the coordination of this basically acknowledge that these groups are subjecting the members of the media to threats.
Yeah.
And the silence is speaking
Definitely.
Volumes. And at a certain point, Jack, it sounds like you're a publisher right now. Guess what that means for how we regulate you lucky boy.
Yeah.
Thing. So I just wanted to stress that needs to happen. On Jim, so good old Jim Acosta, as everybody who's been paying attention to him knows, he's the great clown of the current court system. But by court system is, I mean the imperial court, the royal court,
the White House court. Yeah,
White House court. Always going around challenging the president, grandstanding to the point where even left-wingers think, Jim, you're putting the focus on yourself. You're distracting away from the valid, quote-unquote, valid criticisms they see of the president.
Yeah.
So what Jim did today, as per usual, he started attacking the president on, I even forget what the question was. It doesn't matter. He did his grandstanding, and the president more or less said, you're done with your turn.
Right.
Your question, we're going to someone else. There's an intern going around this press conference with the microphone, handing it off to people. She's, basically ready to take the mic from him and hand it off. He kind of, it's not like aggressive, but he more or less kind of karate chops lightly her arm and basically resists her taking the microphone from her.
Mm-hmm.
That was the item that basically Trump finally said, and Sarah Huckabee said, you know what? Not only is it your bullshit, you being aggressive and not basically being politely following the rules. Enough is enough. You're no longer going to be allowed on the White House premises as a news reporter. Go fuck yourself. And then all of a sudden it's because I criticized him. It's like, no, you grandstanded just a little bit too much on the wrong day. Plus you did lay your hand on an intern. And I gotta say, guys, for those of you defending Jim Acosta, you're not listening and believing to the women who speak of the assaults happening to me too, man. I mean, Jim Acosta, touched my ass a little too many times these last few days. I can't prove that, but you should just listen to my feelings. You can't deny my feelings.
Well, as a current leftist theory, see that a gender is whatever you determine it to be. And see, I'm actually a woman, and even though I'm in Ukraine and I sound the way I sound, I'm actually a woman. And the fact of the matter is, Jim Acosta touched my ass, And I don't have any proof for it, but fuck proof. You should just believe me because I'm a woman now. That's basically the logic of these assholes, But anyway, about the thing. I think
the reason I bring that up is,
By the way, I think that they deliberately had some female. I think that it was kind of set up, that then they must have told that intern, no, you got to get that fucking microphone. And they picked a girl. Because some girl, some like 5'0" little intern who's I'm sure whip smart. I mean they don't hand out internships to dummies, right? But yeah, she looks like a frail little. I haven't seen the video myself, but I bet she's like a frail little thing, and she must have been very insistent of giving the microphone because she must have been told by Sanders herself or somebody there in the White House press office, you're going to get that microphone. You're going to make the scene. Yeah, I would have done it that way, quite frankly, because I think that they just got tired. And I think how Trump is handling these last couple of days, and I suspect that between now and the end of the week, there are going to be more little incidents. I think that Trump is using this election to do a lot of little things that he's wanted to do. Get rid of Sessions, get rid of Acosta, which Acosta is trivial, but sometimes a mosquito, trivial though it may be, can be a huge irritant. And I think that for Trump, Acosta was a big irritant.
Especially when the president has a chance to assert his authority.
Yeah.
I have the right to do this. You're gone. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked at that press conference is when they were going through all of the results, and he made mention, there was some candidate with the name of Love, and she's like, she, candidate Love didn't win her seat. She didn't send me love, and nobody gave her love back, and I was fine with that. And then he also said, like, what do you think about like Jeff Flake's retirement? Did that help or hurt? The election? What caused that? And Trump said, I caused that. It's my gift. Basically, it's my gift to the American people to get Jeff Flake to retire. It was a great service I did to the country. He's just doing this at a press conference. But yeah, this guy in my own party, fuck him. He's a loser, and I love that. But the funny thing was, as per usual, and this is why I say the next few years are going to be so fucking grating on my brain. In the aftermath of this shit, the aftermath of Sessions being asked to leave, Acosta being asked to leave, lo and behold, the old conservatism Inc. guys of Mitt Romney
McCain.
And Jeb Bush, turned around and defended, guess who?
Acosta?
Not the president. Yeah, exactly.
You're
Jeb's
kidding.
like, the press are not the enemy of the people. So typical of Jeb. At least he's not in the
Jeb
Senate
Bush,
or anywhere where he
trying
has power.
to put himself in a position to be a viable challenger to Trump in 2020? Is that his goal?
I think he's
an idiot.
I think he's been seeing too many of those memes where whatever the election happens, and be it a legislative election, a national election, or international election, that meme where they have Jeb, like, the upward looking angle of Jeb as he's like reaching out and like he's won all the seats, all 100% of the vote meme. That happens all the time. I think he's seen one too many of those, and probably has gone to his brain a little bit. But that's less interesting to me than the Mitt Romney response to Sessions leaving. Mitt Romney's response was Sessions was a tireless server and of the Republic, and more importantly, his attitude towards the Mueller investigation was good and ensure that it was allowed to get to the bottom of everything in an efficient and independent manner. In other words, he's asserting, don't fuck with the Mueller investigation, because that's important, and the president isn't. So, which is what I told you once we were looking at the results, and I said, of course Mitt Romney's, and I said it's going to be a painful next few years with that fucker.
Well, the thing about Mitt Romney is I don't think we have to worry. I mean, Mitt Romney might actually be a beneficial thing, and I'll explain why. You see, the Never Trumpers, they got wiped out. And McCain is safely dead, and the Never Trumpers, Flake, etc., they got wiped out, right? And the only real Never Trumper around is Mitt Romney. Now, Mitt Romney, he is a businessman. He's a pragmatist, okay? He has his principles, sort of. After all, the fucker was the governor of Massachusetts, okay? So how big of a conservative do you think the motherfucker is, right? So this guy is willing to cut deals. I mean, he was with Bain for crying out loud, and didn't he start in some consulting? I forget, in McKinsey or something like that.
He was in he was in Bain Consulting. He then took charge, or may have even founded Bain Capital.
Bain, yeah, he did. Yeah, Bain Capital.
He took over Bain Consulting when they were in a really deep shit situation and turned the company around. This is consulting lore that I just happen to know by being in the industry. It's not important really.
Yeah.
But that's kind of his thing. But keep in mind that the deals he made in private equity were not known for being particularly good, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, the point that I'm trying to make about Mitt Romney is that, see, he's a pragmatist, and he is a never Trumper, sure, but he recognizes that the tide is not on his side. On the contrary, the momentum is on Trump's side. I actually, what we should be doing is between now and when we record the weekly bile is tallying up a list of all the candidates that Trump went and rallied for and see how they did, if they won. Because we just said that, and it's true, that Obama's 4 speeches or 4 supports, the 4 efforts at campaigning for candidates, and all 4 of them lost. I wonder how many of Trump's guys won. Because that is indicative of his real political strength, of his being a real political asset for small bore elections, right? Now, Mitt Romney, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that electricity. He is the nominal figurehead of the anti-Trumpers, but he's a pragmatist. So if I were Mitt Romney, knowing the way he thinks, I'd be thinking, okay, I can't fight this guy. I can't fight this orange-haired crazy man, but let's see if I can cut a deal. Let's see if we can, one hand washes the other kind of thing. And I think that that's going to be his approach. And I think it's the only reasonable approach that he's going to be able to have with Donald Trump. Because if he fights him, he'll lose, and he'll lose huge, and he'll become completely isolated. And here's the other thing. You see, in the Senate, if you're a new senator, if it's your first-term senator, you can't do shit. You don't have any power. All of this was discussed in great detail in that wonderful book, which was the Robert Caro book about Master of the Senate.
Master of the Senate.
Yeah, the Master of the Senate, which Robert Caro describes in detail the Senate. It's a required reading for senators. And if you're a first-term senator, you don't have any power. That was the political miracle that Lyndon Johnson did, because as a first-term senator, he accrued enormous power. And so, and Robert Caro shows it, but the point I'm trying to make is that, see, Mitch McConnell is the undisputed leader of the Senate, the majority leader, and he is not only the undisputed majority leader, he's got the seniority and all the rest of it, he also has complete confidence of Donald Trump. They agree on the issues that they both want to pursue. And so Mitt Romney, as a first-term senator, he has to bend the knee to Mitch McConnell, not even Trump, in order to get anything as a senator. And it would be very easy for Mitch McConnell to isolate Mitt Romney in the Senate, considering the fact that Mitch McConnell has in his pocket a 54 vote majority in the Senate. I mean, that's a lot, okay? That's a big deal. And there are a lot of Dems who are going to vote on Republican issues because of their state, because their state is red and they happen to be blue. And so, Mitt Romney is a very, very tenuous position. So I think that he will be the nucleus around which all the anti-Trumpers congregate, but they're going to be powerless.
Well, I'm going to take the opposite end of you on that bet. I am not optimistic that he's going to just cut a deal, and I'll tell you why. The importance of the factionalism in the party still remains. Yes, the Never Trump vote doesn't carry much weight with the electorate, but they carry a significant amount of weight with the donor class and with the lingering members of the old Republican Guard. Mitt Romney will be the most significant player of that. He will probably revel in the attention they give, and he's probably going to make the calculus that I'll just wait and let Trump, set off a bear trap for him, and then I'll just be the hero guy in the corner. I think this will appeal to him. He'll continue to do it. I think there's enough incentive for him to do it. Will he be quiet when he needs to be quiet? Probably. Yeah. But I suspect he will still continue to be a pain. I mean, I think his response to the Jeff Sessions resignation was very clear. I think your much too optimistic about his business savvy, which I think is overstated, to be brutally honest with you.
I don't doubt that. Yeah.
I think the guy will be the new John McCain in the Senate, and we will continue to have this little clique of Romney, Sassa, and who's, I forget, the McCaskey or McCluskey. What's her name in Alaska?
Yeah, I forget. Okay, yeah, but
that clique will be there. They will continue to be a pain in the ass for us. They need to be managed.
Well, I think that they will be managed, and also there's something else. See, I referenced before that famous picture of the two of them dining. Trump gelded him, and he knows it. Okay, and that kind of memory, he can't shake it. He'll never be able to shake it. Okay, he got gelded by Trump, and it was a power move, and good on Trump. I mean, irrespective of what you think about the guy, he totally gelded Romney in a way that cannot be fixed, that cannot be repaired or turned around. Okay, so I think that will carry a weight in Mitt Romney's mind that you'd be surprised. Okay, when a guy has been clearly bested and humiliated that way, you don't think that? I mean, we saw that picture and we all laughed, right? You think that it didn't burn in Mitt Romney's subconscious in a way that that must have driven him a little bit nuts? I think, in fact,
well, that's all the more reason to be concerned about him, because you think about, and everybody will tell you this: if you're going to fight an enemy, you either completely obliterate them, or you allow them to save face and honor. Because if you have them leaving ridiculed and embarrassed, you will be at the center of their imagination for the rest of their lives, and they will look for ways to destroy you every chance they get.
Yeah,
that is basically where Mitt Romney is now, which is why I do not trust him. I don't trust him either. Does. He will not be controlled. That I have no doubt in my mind.
Turning to something else, I was actually very surprised that this Tucker Carlson thing happened, and I think that it's a lot more of these events are going to start to happen, and I think that the political divisions and cultural divisions are going to become more and more accentuated. I think that you're right. The fact that there was no clear winner in this election is going to mean that the political divisions, the political polarization, and the cultural polarization is going to become worse and worse and worse. I mean, just it's going to be stopped like it's not going to be an antipathy. I think it's going to turn into outright hatred, and the mob violence, I think, is going to start ramping up. And it's clear that it's the left. The left want this to happen. And this reminds me of, let's go all black pill on this motherfucker. This reminds me of the Spanish Civil War. It reminds me of the origins of the Spanish Civil War, because it was the leftists who started going whole hog. I look back on the situation in Chile, for instance, between 1964 and 1973, which was essentially a kind of civil war. And it was really the left that started it. The left, they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And, with political assassinations, eventually they got their government, and the government was a disaster, the Salvador Allende government. And eventually it led to the right-wing coup d'etat. But it's not, or there was a right-wing coup d'etat. That's wrong. What happened was that one of the things that people forget is that a month before the coup d'etat happened in 1973 in Chile, in September of 73, in August, I believe it was August 9th, the Chilean parliament issued a statement, and it passed by a resounding majority. The only people who voted against it were the communists and the socialists, right? It passed by a resounding majority, asking the military to overthrow the Salvador Allende government. The Chilean parliament, asked for a coup d'etat, if you can believe it. And they said that order had to be restored, and that they saw no other way out except for the military to overthrow the Allende government. I mean, that happened, okay? It was the rest of the country that just got sick of these fucking leftists, right? It seems to me that, and the same thing more or less happened in Spain. it seems to me that we're going in that direction where we have a sickness in the minds of these leftists. And they are just going to keep on annoying and annoying and annoying until everybody's just like, fuck these fuckers. Let's kill them all. Okay? That's my thinking. I think that's the origin of the Civil War, and that there are going to be a lot of confused people, who are going to be like in the middle ground. They're not going to understand what's going on. And they're the ones whose indecision is going to make this worse and worse. And do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this argument?
Yes, it's going to get worse. That's why I said this was the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
For the election, because it's just enough fuel, and it's the right mix of confidence boosting and resentment boosting at the same time.
Yeah.
which is a hard mix to get, but guess what? Our country figured out a way to deliver.
Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, if you really think about it, it's like enough of the other side won that makes you pissed off, and you didn't win enough, but you won enough to know, hey, there's some hope here. The other kind of thing that I was paying attention to, going back all the way to the results of the election. The other big theme to keep in mind, it's going to surprise anybody, is that the demographic breakout of all of this.
Yeah,
it showed in a lot of some of the key results here. So before I even get to the real, the racial demographics, I think one of the big things I'm also noticing here is that in a lot of these district seats that were either very close wins on our side or narrow losses on our side, it was not a shock to me to see that there were a number of Libertarian Party candidates who won votes larger than the margin is between the two main party candidates. In other words, this is spoiler season.
Yeah.
A lot of these districts were very close. The Libertarian parties managed to create situations where, ironically enough, the more libertarian-minded members of Congress are in a weaker position as a result. So, yet again, libertarianism sticks its own shoe in its own mouth.
Yeah, but actually the same thing happened in Arizona. That in the Arizona Senate election, the Greens got 2.2% of the vote, which would have been enough to push Sinema over the edge. And she would have won the Arizona had it not been for the Greens. So, it's sort of like happening both ways, okay? And I think that
in this election, it was a little bit more so libertarian side.
Yeah, I think that
so many Greens.
I think the Republicans are going to have to make their peace with the Libertarians and figure out a way that the Libertarian Party. I mean, it's like wrangling cats with those fuckers, but they're going to have to have a sit down with them and say, look, just you have your guys vote for our guy. Because you're never going to win, okay? And you might be able to get something out of this because we lost enough seats that it's a problem. I'd have to go looking, seat by seat.
Number in New York. There were seats. We can talk about it later. But basically, there was Virginia, New York, and Texas, and I think North Carolina districts that I looked at that were close enough to the margin.
Okay, so you got at least 4. Okay, yeah. And at this point, 4 seats matters. But there's that vibe that there was no decisive victory. There was no clear and compelling victory. I hope that in 2020 there is such a compelling and clear victory. But the problem is, it's very clear that we've got a recession that's baked in the cake. It's on its way, and I think that's something that is very unnerving. I think that Trump is a shrewd enough guy to realize, I mean, he keeps an eye on Wall Street, and not just the stock market, that people pay attention to the stock market, but fuck the stock market, it's the bond market. That's the one you got to keep your eye on. And I think that he's keeping an eye on it, and he knows that it's sort of like baked in the cake, that something bad is on its way insofar as the economy, a general economic downturn. Now, how he handles it, that's going to be an interesting story. Because 2 years is a long goddamn time in politics. And, how can I put it? See, it's sort of like this vibe that the tidal wave of some kind of economic downturn is coming. But by the same token, even though it's a tidal wave and you have this feeling of inevitability, there are certain measures that Trump could take that could potentially ameliorate the consequences of that downturn. Certainly on a political level. So I think that over the next 6 months, it's going to be very interesting how he I think that what he'll plan to do is sort of like make the ballet move of having it somehow become the fault of the Democrats. And going back to the issue of the government shutdown of 96 and how that, or 95 or whenever it was, and how it totally demolished the Republican majority and Newt Gingrich's career back then, I think that Trump is going to be looking to do something similar to the Democrats, because Trump is old enough to remember that in some detail, and he was, sort of like already mixed up in politics enough to have seen that up close and how it happened. And so I think he's going to try to pull some sort of similar stunt so that it becomes the fault of the Democrats for the economic downturn. And if he forces the hands of the Democrats and makes them go to a shutdown on quote unquote principle, then he'll be able to say, oh, see, the Democrats forced me to close the government, and it's the government shutdown that caused the recession, or words to the effect. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that I think
he can easily use the fact that they own the House now and they own the purse strings against them. Any downturn in the economy, any inability to deal with it, he can just say, well, you put these fuckers in the House. Guess what they did?
Yeah.
You didn't get as much as you wanted out of the tax benefit. Look who's in charge of the fucking House.
Yeah.
That's easy for him.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So sorry, I was going to continue on my theme of the demographics. There's one other race that was no, that's all right. That was related. But going back to another race, and I'm getting to the fun topic y'all want to talk about.
I know.
But before I do that, the Montana Senate race was interesting to me. So Montana, for those of you who obviously paying attention, it should be a nice, comfortable red state by all intents and purposes. If you look at the results,
Montana.
What was happening, yeah, exactly. It was Montana. It's what happened last night. Tester, an incumbent Democrat there, it was in the lead for a long period of the night, but then lost that lead. I thought, we're going to flip Montana. Happy to go to bed on that. Wake up today and see that Tester basically kept his seat. He won by basically 3 percentage points.
Yeah.
Now you try to figure out what's going on there. Well, one of the stories going on there is you get a lot of fleeing Californians, or fleeing West Coasters, saying like, I want to, find a nice area where I can have land and all of this stuff. Yeah. So, and this has been happening to Texas. It's been happening to Colorado. It's been happening to Montana, which is to say you get these white liberals, who find, nice, comfortable Republican controlled areas, and they leave their blue state shitholes because they turned it into a shithole. Yeah. And rather than adopting logic and saying, we probably should adopt some degree of conservative politics to just keep it nice the way we bought it. No, they make it another shithole. In other words, it's like a locust. They go around, they take a shit, and they move on. That's kind of what's happening to Montana. It's kind of already happened to Colorado. Colorado is I think solidly blue for a very long period of time now.
Yeah.
But that's like the big thing of Montana. Montana should have been a red state.
Yeah.
It should have flipped without question. That's a result of white flight.
Yeah.
Now to the demographic stuff that you really want to talk about. Texas Senate was very, very, very close. It should not have been so close. One of the reasons being, if you look at the map of where the blue is winning in Texas, it's where mostly the Hispanic vote is accumulating. Now, to be fair, about 30 to 40% ish, depending on the demographic of the Hispanic vote, went to Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is going to continue to happen. It's a little bit of that white flight situation I was talking about, what was happening in Montana. It's also a little bit of the demographics of what's happening in Texas. This is why the border matters. Texas cannot be turned permanently blue like California was.
Yeah.
California was
red is
for a long time.
Yeah.
That changed. If Texas goes, it's very hard to see, maintaining, a red path.
Well, James Alsop is of the opinion that if Texas goes blue, the United States will never again elect a Republican president. The demographics, the electoral college map would simply not allow it, and that's that's a very incendiary statement. And I'm very worried that he might be onto something, that he might be speaking the truth on the matter. So yeah, the Texas issue is a big deal. And what's interesting are you wanna segue into this, because the famous tweet of a certain fellow white man.
Oh yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that tweet, but yeah, it was essentially Bill Kristol, right? Or no,
Yeah,
Bill
Bill
Kristol,
Kristol.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Bill Kristol, our favorite neocon, uh, who's always being neoconish, uh, realized after looking at the elections last night, which by the way did not entirely go in his favor. The people he probably liked are long the fuck gone.
Yeah.
But he's looking at this and says, "I always," I'm going to paraphrase the tweet because I don't have it.
I have it in front of me.
You read it.
Yeah.
You read it.
Per Bill Kristol, and this is a direct quote, I've always disliked the phrase, quote, demography is destiny, end quote, as it seems to minimize the capacity for deliberation and self-government, for reflection and choice. But looking at tonight's results in detail, one has to say that today, in America, demography sure seems to be destiny. I think we have a race realist here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, the thing is, if you look at what he says about Israel, I mean, it's not a surprise. He's certainly an Israel realist.
Yeah.
And in terms of their demographics, so it's nice to see he came around. But I think he's coming around to the realization that I will just do what a lot of other sort of white people have done, which is I will enslave myself to this new majority in the hopes of surviving another week.
Yeah.
Much like how people decided to be guards in the concentration camps to not get put into the oven the first fucking week. They put it in the last week.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how the human mind operates.
Yeah, well, here's my thinking about Bill Kristol and his shift, because he's going white nationalist. That's what he's going. Let's face facts. And the fact that white nationalism, even though it's not called white nationalism, but in effect it is white nationalism. Ryan Falk over at Alternative Hypothesis had the best analysis of this particular issue that I've seen in a while. But anyway, Bill Kristol is turning in this direction. And I think that a lot of neocons, who are basically Israeli firsters, they are basically people who are conservative, but for the greater good and glory of the state of Israel. They don't really care about the United States. People like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, who says quite blatantly that he doesn't give a damn about the browning of America. And of course, what that means electorally. He does not care. But he does care about Israel. He does care about Israel and the 6 million Arabs and Palestinians within the borders of Israel who could overwhelm electorally the Jews in Israel. And so, of course, they essentially don't have the right to vote in Israel. Yeah, they care about Israel, but they do not care about the United States, the neocons, right? Now, it seems to me that there's going to be a split between them. And you're always seeing it because what's her name? Jennifer Rubin? Jennifer Rubin is her name? The columnist at the Washington Post who claims to be some sort of conservative. But she's not a conservative. She's a fucking liberal Democrat. That's what she is. I mean, Republicans in name only? I mean, that's stretching it because she's, as far as I'm concerned, an out-and-out liberal. And the neocons. But she's a card-carrying member of the neocon group. And it seems to me that these neocons are basically Trump is going to shred them apart. And there will be a majority who will finally openly be Democrats and a minority who are going to fall, get into the fold, fall in line and be part of the, what do we want to call this? It seems like we're going into white identitarianism. Because this post of Bill Kristol, there's a saying in Spanish, no da hilo sin puntada, which means he doesn't make a move without having thought it through, right? Bill Kristol would never have put out this tweet unless he'd given it a lot of thought. And and it's because of Texas. Because all of the results for Texas showed that everybody who was Hispanic voted Dem overwhelmingly. And everybody who was not Hispanic, including Asians, voted Republican overwhelmingly. And so, it's obvious and it's ridiculous to not see it. And so, I think that this is a key move.
Yeah, the other big piece of the results was that there was no black exit of the Democratic Party in a substantial way. Marginally, I saw some instances where, you did break the 90% from the Democrats. I do think if there is a African American fondness for anyone, it's for the president, and it stops there. And by that, it's still a minority who does it. Significant minority, but I think it's a personal political thing. What does that then there mean? Because this is the challenge that I know some people are trying to reach the conclusion, oh, you got to stop appealing to minorities and you only have to get all the white votes. Well, you have to add several things we've been talking about tonight. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you gave up all of the minority votes because you said you'll never win them anyway. Well, if you looked at how close some of these races were, like if Ted Cruz just said, fuck it, I don't need any minority votes, and lost the minority vote he did get, he would have lost. It was that close. Which means that if you are going to take this path of you're just going to have to get like 90% of white people or whatever, percent you think is important, realize you have to flip latte sipping, ex-Californian white liberals. If you ask me which is the more recalcitrant brain between minorities and white liberals, I can't tell you that, I can convince a white liberal. So that tells me you have to have a good plan to convert them, because frankly, they're just as big a bunch of idiots and lockstep with their political party as anybody else. Mm-hmm. You got to figure that out. And yet you can say all you want about, scaring, people into the white people becoming a minority. But as I said before, the strategy I am seeing mentally within those people, the white people who are just very big on saying, I want, I don't care about, my identity, I care about everybody else's identity, is the following. What I said before, they're more than happy to be the slaves in the camp system who feed other people to the gas chambers so that they can be the last to the gas chamber. Mm. That is their mentality. And you try to flip that. Let's see how successful you are. That's why I'm very black-pilled on this situation. The best thing you could do is halt the inflow of minority votes and then reverse it by pushing people who should be here out. That's as best as you're going to do. I think there are just white people, for whatever reason, because probably they're the majority, don't have convinced themselves that they can ignore identity politics and will vote however they want to vote. You got to figure out a way to reverse that if you think that you're going to be the whites only party. If you don't, and you just say, well, fuck getting black people, fuck getting Hispanic people, they'll never majority vote for us. Well, my response is, well, figure out a path to victory, because if you just say fuck everybody, everybody will say fuck you, and you're not going to get any closer to victory. So I'm kind of dead serious. Like, okay, if you want to go down that path, figure it the fuck out, because I'm not going to do it for you, because it's pretty fucking tough based on the numbers I'm seeing right now. Mm.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about whites, liberal whites' hatred of white people, and I think it's just that the whole issue of diversity, that it's so positive and being brown is such a good thing that it's just a conditioning that went beyond the zero. Okay, like in Thomas Pynchon's famous book. Well, that's a long tangent, but the thing is, see, I think the conditioning just went beyond the zero. The Pavlovian response of brown is good, brown is good, brown is good. United Colors of Benetton. It flipped over into we're bad, we're bad, we're bad, and there's something fundamentally like a weird masochism. I think it's just basically guilt at their good fortune. Guilt, especially because they feel that it's unearned, because they inherited it. Because, so many of the baby boomers and the children of the baby boomers, they live very comfortable lives because their parents made sacrifices. That's why this constant hagiography of not hagiography, but you know what I mean, of the World War II period, of Saving Private Ryan and all that. That was the tough times, and there's a guilt that they didn't do anything to deserve the good times that came after. And it's just led them to this feeling that they're not worthy. Look, let me give you a specific example. Recently, I crossed the 100,000 subscriber mark, and I have all these wonderful subscribers, and it's a blessing. But a lot of them say, wonderful things about my videos, and I make them. I know that they're kind of shitty, a lot of them. And so I think that they're either putting me on, or they're that they're on drugs. Okay. Of course, what I realize as a grown man is that a lot of times, as the maker of these videos, I think that they're a lot shittier than they actually are, because I'm worrying about every little detail, right? But what happens is that you get this feeling of not deserving the good fortune that you have, and that it's sort of like unreal. Okay, and I think that that's what's happening with a lot of these white people, that they have this great good fortune. They live in this land of plenty, and they have all of these material advantages and these experiential advantages. They can travel anywhere, go anywhere, do anything, be anything, and it makes them feel guilty and as if they didn't earn it, because they didn't. They inherited it from previous generations, and so they feel guilty about it, and so they are willing to be masochists about it. That's my thinking.
White liberals have the Swedish mentality. Basically, look at the last election in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
There was every single point clearly articulated that you could illustrate that. Look at what the mass migration has done to Sweden. You're literally killing yourselves to be, to feel, because you feel guilty and you want to not feel guilty anymore.
Yeah.
With everything that was articulated, and even, yes, there was success for the right-wing party. They gained seats, but they didn't gain the needed number of seats to start changing things.
Yeah.
They had everything in their favor in terms of the argument to realize what the hell was going on. You cannot hide bodies. You cannot hide half the fucking city of Malmo on fire. You know what I mean? And yet, even in that context, they still, had to deal with this. Oh, I feel guilty, and I deserve what comes to me.
Yeah, I deserve the destruction that's coming my way. The rape of my women, the destruction of my home. I deserve it. Just fucking bizarre.
And that is what I guarantee you. I've seen it in fucking person. That is the mentality of white liberals. If you think you're going to make an easy argument to change their mind and say, "Oh, you're right. White nationalism is the key," you're fucking drinking something too, because they are as recalcitrant as anybody as you will ever encounter. I'd love to be proven wrong on this. Try to prove me wrong on this. I'm willing to bet I'm not wrong.
No, I'm not one to say that you're wrong.
Yelling at you. I'm yelling at people in the audience, or even if they're not in the audience, they're people in our sphere who I know are thinking this way. And I'm trying to say, well, if you're thinking that way, be better at making your fucking argument, because you're not doing it right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is me getting pissed at people who have great ideas but no execution. And as I always said, well, I don't always say this, other people have said it. It's like, people who think they're smart just talk about strategy. The real smart people start thinking about logistics. Yeah. How do I get it done?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't see any of the real smart people on our side, or the people who think they're smart on our side, talking about, this, are going to the logistics level, because that's what's fucking needed. And at least I'll give this to the likes of Steve Bannon and other folks. He's trying to make it fucking happen.
Yeah.
I give him more credit than anybody who accuses him of whatever.
No, yeah, because he's a feet on the ground kind of guy. Yeah. I agree. I agree that a lot of these people. Look, the only way to wipe out these masochistic, self-destructive leftoids is to have some sort of disaster befall the United States. Something big enough that this kind of idiotic attitude is just simply not tolerated. And either a disaster big enough that it will outright kill these people, or it will be such a shock that they will be forced to grow up and fly right. You know what I mean? Because it's not a problem that they're not straight. It's that they haven't grown up. They're fucking children. That's the thing. That they are immature children. That's my thinking. And I think also the political ideology that we're living under has given them values that are just fucking insane. Anyway, we've been ranting for a while, and so we've gone on some bit. So we're going to leave the podcast here. And so in tomorrow's podcast, which we will be recording on the very day we release it, we'll be talking about a lot more of the news items that have happened post this election. But to sum up, I think that it would be fair to say that this mixed election result rather, is just it's just going to be more of the same that we've had, and probably worse. Would you agree with that statement?
All we managed to do in this horrific song that we're listening to, which is our national politics, is crank it up to 11.
Yeah.
That's really, we cranked the volume up to 11. That's what this election has done.
Yeah.
And that's really, I'd rather we adjust the treble or the bass or the whatever to the right side, as opposed to say, you know what, whatever the fuck is going on, I just want it louder. I want more of it.
Yeah.
Give me fucking more. And that gets to my point, what I've been saying a long time with regard to the conflict. Like, the worst thing that we could do with this conflict, this anticipated future civil war is to just let it drag on without any resolution. It would be, just fucking rip the Band-Aid off one way or the other. Let's resolve it.
Yeah,
and
I think. Well,
and I have a preference to how to resolve it. But any resolution.
Second Amendment, Uber alles. Okay, so on that cheerful note, this has been the Coach and Benway podcast, and we will catch you tomorrow. As a matter of fact, take it easy.
Later.